Chain smoke your problems away. Smokepit Fairy Tales Part 4, Chapter 28. I'm Coming Home. Thatch was still awake when reveille sounded. He pulled on his boots, shaved, and headed up to the company office. He didn't feel like waiting an hour in the chow line to get shit food he wasn't going to eat anyway. He typed up his after-action report for the previous day and emailed it to the company clerk. Akan walked in as he logged off the computer.
You're up here early?
Couldn't sleep.
Yeah, me either.
She took the seat Thatch stood out of and jotted in her name and password.
What else are you doing today?
Thatch leaned on the desk and stuffed his hands in his pockets.
Grabbing people's gear and shit from the racks and taking it to the S4 so they can mail it back to their families.
Akan sank in her chair a bit. She'd forgotten that she'd have to do that for her Marines as well.
I'll help you with Yorick and his Marines when I'm done with this.
Thanks, dude.
Thatch turned the doorknob and First Sergeant Alires pushed the door open.
Good morning, First Sergeant.
Just the people I want to see. I need for you to round up Capulet, Royce, and McKenzie. The battalion commander wants us all in his office at 09.
Aye, First Sergeant.
Thatch went to leave the office, but then turned back.
Do we need to be in our service uniforms?
No, camis are fine.
A few hours later, Thatch, Akan, Chuck, Capulet, and McKenzie stood at attention before Lieutenant Colonel Santoreno. Sergeant Major Powell, Rodzer, and Alires stood to their side. Santoreno sat behind his particle board desk. His weathered hands locked fingers over an outdated paper calendar filled to the edges with notes. His short black hair retreated behind his scalp, and the lines in his forehead reared up over his amber eyes.
Stand at ease.
Santoreno stared at the Marines in front of him.
HM3 Stockton is still recovering. I take it for the reason for her absence.
She's recovering well, but she's going to be out of commission for a few days,
said the Sergeant Major from behind thick glasses and crossed arms. Santoreno nodded.
Do you know why you're all here?
Yes, sir.
I don't think you do.
Santoreno leaned back into his chair, placing his hands on the armrests.
You know what you did in Frankfurt's Harbor caused an international incident, right? The damn Secretary of State was on the news apologizing to the FH government for your infractions.
The Marines kept their bearing. Stone-faced, they looked straight at their commander. But their minds were a different story. Thatch worried what his ma was going to say to him. Akan fretted for her marriage. Capulet didn't think he'd have the courage to face his wife again. Chuck and McKenzie wondered how they were going to get jobs after they got released from prison.
However,
Santoreno leaned forward and rested his elbows on the desk.
Last night, I went to visit the wounded Marines down in medical. Lieutenant Benjamin and your platoon sergeant regaled me with the story of what happened in the boiler room. From what I am expected to believe, if you two sergeants didn't do what you did down there, India Company wouldn't fucking exist.
The commander stood up and walked around to the front of his desk. He stuck his hand out for Thatch to shake.
This battalion owes you a great deal of gratitude.
Thatch was jolted in confusion, but shook Santoreno's hand.
We were just taking care of our Marines, sir.
Santoreno shook his head.
I really don't care what you did.
He shook Akan's hand.
I'm just proud to have Marines of your caliber under my charge.
He next shook Capulet's hand.
Are any of you familiar with Napoleon Bonaparte?
The five of them gave him mixed answers. Santoreno shook Chuck's hand and then McKenzie's.
Napoleon was one of the greatest military leaders the world has ever seen. He said something that I've tried to shape my career off of. There are no bad regiments, only bad colonels.
He turned back and sat on his desk.
Do you know what that means?
That ultimately the success or failure of the Marines under your charge are your responsibility, both good and bad?
Santoreno nodded.
That's right, but that only goes so far. There's some turds that can't be polished, and then some people come to you better than you could ever make them. I can't take credit for what you've done. You've distinguished yourselves above and beyond what's been asked of you.
He leaned back to grab his coffee and took a sip out of a white glass mug bearing the battalion's logo.
Sir?
Chuck asked.
Yes, son.
Does this mean we're not getting court-martialed?
No, you're not getting court-martialed, but you are on a probation. Don't do anything else stupid on this float.
Aye,
sir. And I'll go talk to Doc Stockton when she's feeling better. All right. All of you get out of here. You're dismissed.
The Marines stood at attention, sounded off,
Good
morning, sir.
faced left, and marched out of the office. The rest of the deployment was spent guarding the captured Russian ship. The Navy decided it was too large to tow and spent a month and a half repairing the vessel enough to sail it back towards Mars. The Marines aboard the Bonhomme Richard spent their days training in the hangar bay, waiting in chow lines and smoking cigarettes. The wounded either recovered or were shuttled back early to Mars. Stockton recovered quicker than the others. York was in bad shape and was sent home alongside Lisbon and Kawasaki, who lost their legs. The battalion's companies rotated through week-long shifts of standing watch on the captured ship in case Ivan decided he wanted it back. The Mew escorted the captured ship back to Mars and docked it at Naval Station Cernan. The Mew orbited Mars for another couple of weeks until the next unit was ready to take their place. The Bonham Richard landed at NS Glen, and the Marines loaded onto buses to head back to Camp Castle.
I forget how fucking cold it is here.
Stockton complained as she walked towards the bus. The wind blew ice through her uniform and little flutters of snow through the air.
Yeah, you'd think since they figured out how to change the planet's gravitational force, they'd be able to make it warmer for more of the year.
Chuck said to her. They stepped up to the bus and sat towards the back.
It's also kind of bullshit. We only got one little...
Shut up. People died.
Dude.
Stockton pointed to her leg, defending herself.
I think our right to bitch about this.
Thatch rolled his eyes.
All right, but at the very least, we should be happy we're not in jail.
You're not wrong.
The bus ride back to Camp Castle was loud. The Marines talked about what they were going to do when they got back, what they were going to eat, who they were going to sleep with, what movies they were going to catch up on. Thatch turned his phone on for the first time in months, just to see that he didn't have any messages. He flipped through other people's pages to see what he'd missed, finding nothing interesting. They pulled up to the parade deck in front of the barracks. A crowd of family members, friends, Marines from other units who knew people were returning, and an official welcome party consisting of the Remain Behind element, the morale officers, and the band cheered as the battalion unloaded.
That's quite a crowd.
Yeah. Too bad they never have beer.
McKenzie griped.
Yeah, why is that?
Because they don't really care about us.
Nope.
Capulet backed to Thatch up. Akon's wife ran up and jumped on her when she picked her out of the crowd. Akon kissed her, held her in tight, then turned back to wave goodbye to the Marines. Before they left the ship, they were told to be responsible over the weekend and that they didn't have to show up to work for half a week. Capulet's wife grabbed him and led him to the car to drive home.
So what are we doing tonight?
Thatch asked Stockton, Chuck, and McKenzie.
I didn't know what you're doing.
Stockton said, noticing Velo. He was walking around lost in the crowd like he was looking for someone.
See you guys around.
Stockton walked up to Avilo. He smiled and waved when he saw her. She grabbed his hand and took him up to her room.
Huh. Well, all right then.
Chuck hiked his pack up higher on his back.
Right? Damn. I think I'm gonna go take a nap and then go grab beer.
You have fun with that.
Well, what are you doing?
I got a message from a chick who wanted me to come see her. I was texting her on the bus. I'm gonna go give her chlamydia.
That hasn't cleared up yet?
It has, but I'm probably gonna get it again tonight.
Thatch shook his head and tried not to smile. Chuck bounced to his room. McKenzie followed suit, saying,
Hey, I'll text you when I get done with my nap.
Sounds good.
Thatch waved. He took his pack and his guitar to his room and dropped them on the floor. The room was a little dusty, but besides that, unchanged. He took off his uniform and put his bomber jacket and scarf on over a hoodie and jeans. Thatch didn't bother to sit down. He took his cigarettes and went back outside. Thatch lit his Luckies and watched the crowd. Families ran up and hugged the Marines coming off the later buses. Everyone looked cheerful to be home again with their loved ones. Some people had gifts to give their returning heroes, some had signs that waved as they cheered, and for some, it was as simple as having a bottle of their favorite liquor. It should have been a happy time, and it was, for most. Thatch was glad the others were getting along happily, but he himself was melancholy. He thought back over his previous deployments and couldn't think of one time when someone was there to welcome him home. He wasn't bitter, but it did hurt his heart. He'd been there for other people's returns. More than once, he was the screaming man with the "Welcome Back Fucker" sign and a 12-pack. Thatch finished his cigarette and flicked it into the snow piling up beside the building. He lit up another one and called up his ma. The phone rang a few times before Glaedwine answered.
Hello?
Hey.
Thatch made an effort to sound happier than he was.
Hey, honey. Welcome back.
She sounded like she was busy with something cumbersome.
Thanks. Well, what's up?
Oh, you know, same old, staying busy. There's so much shit going on up here, I feel like an octopus trying to hold it together.
Thatch took a drag of a cigarette.
Well, anything fun?
Brass level bullshit that's never gonna go anywhere. Trying to stop Congress from completely ruining the Marine Corps.
Lame.
Tell me about it. When are you coming home?
I don't know yet, Ma. I'll, get leave dates when we get back to work next week.
Sounds good, but hey, I'm swamped right now. Let me know your dates and I'll come pick you up from the airport.
Yes, ma'am.
I love you, honey.
Love you too, Ma.
All right, bye.
Thatch's phone went silent. He burned the rest of his cigarette and called a taxi. He wouldn't be able to pick up his car until the next day. Even if he had the sloop, he was planning on being too drunk to drive it home. The cab dropped him off at the bowling alley and he ordered beer. Thatch didn't ask for a cup. He drank it straight from the pitcher. The bar was already packed, drunks screaming into the microphone while butchering the karaoke songs they were attempting to perform. Others played pool or cards in the back. Thatch powered through the first pitcher and ordered another one. He took it to the smoke deck outside and fished a cigarette out with his teeth. A flame appeared in front of his face. He looked over to see a short, dark woman with wavy black hair and dark brown eyes. She was muscular and covered in random tattoos.
Hey.
She smiled at him, raising her eyebrows. Thatch put the pack back in his pocket and sucked in a drag.
Hey, Thanks for the light.
No problem.
She lit her own cigarette and put away the lighter.
How's your night?
Oh, it's not bad. Just got off deployment. Trying to get a little liquored up.
The woman raised an eyebrow with a smirk and pointed her forehead at him.
Oh, yeah? How was it?
Thatch shrugged.
All right, I guess. Nothing happened.
He lied. He stuck his free hand out to shake hers.
I'm Thatch.
She put her fingers in his palm.
Rachel.
Thatch smiled.
Nice to meet you. What are you doing out here tonight?
Just getting out for a while. I got stationed out here last week, and there's not much to do besides drink so far.
Well, it looks like you spend plenty of time at the gym. That's something to do, right?
Yeah, but that's usually just the mornings.
Thatch and Rachel drank throughout the night. After another pitcher, they went to the back tables to play cards. They ended up with a few Marines from Kilo Company playing rummy. At some point, Rachel's fingers intertwined with Thatch's. He didn't notice when it happened, but he didn't mind the attention. When the round was over and the pitchers were empty, Thatch patted the arm holding his.
I'm go hit the head.
All right.
It was dingy, dirty, dark, and covered with graffiti, but at least it smelled nice. There was only one toilet, and the room was only maybe 4 by 5 feet. Thatch walked in the door, but before he could lock it, Rachel pushed her way in. She locked the door behind her and pushed herself onto Thatch.
Well, hey.
What's up?
Well, I was planning on taking a piss.
I don't think you need to do that.
No?
No.
Rachel unzipped Thatch's jeans and started massaging him.
Hey everybody, what's up? Thanks for listening to another chapter set of Wait, no, this is not what I'm recording right now. Quick note, I had to cut some of this out to conform to YouTube's rules and regulations. I think you can guess what's happening. Thatch is in the bathroom at the bowling alley with Rachel, and things get a little bit, how do we say this? Not appropriate for YouTube. If you'd like to hear the unedited version, you can just go get the audiobook. That's now on Audible. Or if you want to hear these chapters as they come out, you get the unedited thing over on Patreon also. Okay, back to the story.
So, you want a cigarette?
McKenzie walked out to the smoke pit in his pajama pants and a cartoon character-themed hoodie. Most of the Marines were either out in town or had already drunk themselves to sleep. It was close to 4 in the morning. The barracks were quiet. The only thing McKenzie could hear was the wind. It was a welcome change to the constant humming and rattling of the ship. He lit his cigarette and cracked open his beer. Light from the base bounced off the clouds of snow, making the night a dull gray. McKenzie wished he would have brought his beanie out with him, but he didn't find it unbearable. He watched his sedan crawl up the parking lot. After it had stopped for a few moments, Thatch stumbled out and walked towards him.
Hey, man.
McKenzie gave a single nod.
What's happening?
Thatch's voice held a slight slur. McKenzie shook his head.
Chillin', man. Just got up from my nap.
Thatch bobbed his head.
All right.
He fumbled for his cigarettes and lit up beside McKenzie.
Where have you been?
Bowling alley.
Thatch hiccuped. He hated those. He drew in all his breath, inflating his lungs and stretching his diaphragm until it hurt. He held it in until the hiccups went away. He took in another deep drag.
I banged some chick in the bathroom.
Nice. Use a rubber?
Nope.
You might want to get your pecker checked.
Yeah, I'll do that when we get back to work.
All right.
Hey, guys.
Stockton dragged herself up to them. She was covered in dirt, leaves, and twigs. Her hair was a mess, her face was bruised, and her shirt was ripped, and her knuckles were bloody.
Dude, what happened to you?
Stockton reached in her pocket for cigarettes, which she couldn't find. She flicked her thumb, signaling for a smoke. McKenzie offered her his pack. She pulled one out and lit up.
Well,
She pointed her finger at the other two with a smile.
I'll tell you what didn't happen. I did not punch that master sergeant.
She smirked, full of pride. A wave of realization hit Thatch, sobering him up a bit.
Wait, what?
I didn't hit that master sergeant.
Stockton said again, while both nodding and shaking her head simultaneously. Thatch winced.
Okay, then what did happen then?
Well,
Stockton straightened herself up and put a hand on her hip.
I got done with the Villo. He was very happy to see me home. And then I walked to the bowling alley.
Dude, I was at the bowling alley.
No, the one on base.
Okay.
Anyway, I was minding my own business.
Bullshit.
I was minding my own business, drinking beer because the PX is closed and I couldn't buy any. And I get up to leave. Then this guy comes after me. He stops me and tells me that I need to be more careful than to just go wandering around by myself drunk at night. I nod my head and say, "Aye, gunny." Then he says, "I'm not a gunny." And then I say, "Then what are you?" And he's like, "It's not important." And I'm like, "Whatever." So then he goes on this rant about honor, courage, commitment, and all that motto bullshit. And I keep calling him Gunny. I just keep calling him Gunny. Finally, he tells me that he's a master sergeant. And I inform him that I don't give a shit about his rank. If I remember right, I got bored of his bullshit.
Stockton's eyes spun around the world as she formed her thoughts.
I think he said he was getting me a cab, but I didn't like that idea. So I punched him in the face a few times, and then ran away. And I woke up in the bushes by the gym.
Jesus fuck, dude.
Thatch flicked a cigarette to the curb, wrapped his arms around Stockton, motioned to McKenzie to help, and said,
All right, let's get you to bed.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. But you'd be proud of me. I got in some good hits.
She started laughing and chuckled the whole way to her room. Thatch told McKenzie good night and threw himself in his rack. He pulled out his phone and started flipping through people's web pages. He came across Chuck's page. Someone, obviously not him, posted pictures to his page of Chuck blindfolded, handcuffed to a chair, with a rather large set of breasts shoved in his face. The post was a couple of hours old. Thatch smiled and thought,
Yeah, I'm glad he's having a good time.
Then put down the phone and passed out.
Hey everybody, what's up? This time for real. Thanks for listening to another chapter set. I want to thank you for spending your time on me. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to everyone who's following over on Patreon, people who've actually gone out and got the audiobook, YouTube channel members who get these chapters just a little bit early, and everybody who's gotten a war chest. All right, everybody, thank you so very much for tuning in. And war chest people and Patreon people and YouTube channel members all get their names on the credits at the end of these, so, I guess there's that little for you. And then if you get the war chest to put your pin in this map, I gotta make a video about that sometime soon. I do that in the shorts. I do that in the YouTube shorts. But yeah, hey, thank you again, everybody. I hope you're having a good weekend, and wrap it before you tap it. All right, here are your bloopers. Ciao.
Okay, let's give that another shot. Test number 2, because test number 1 ended up sounded like something.
Chapter 28, Lieutenant Colonel Santoreno.
How about down here? Is this better? How about up here? Is this better? Is this better? Right into that bitch. How about this? Right up into this bitch. How about here? Man, it's been a while since I recorded, man. I've been fucking busy. All right, let's try this.
Hey, freaking daggone doing, Marines.
Tests have been completed. Now we're ready to start the thing.
Stand by. Here we go.
Good morning, First Sergeant. Good morning, First. I'm going into Cockney. I've got to be careful. I'll try that little bit again.
Sir, she's recovering well. I am a Sergeant Major. I like to fuck over Marines and bust them for doing Marine shit.
She took the seat Thatch stood out of. Okay, that makes sense now. Action sequence in my head. Thatch out. Con in. Got it.
Santoreno nodded. Yes, you do, because you were a fucking cocksucker.
Oh, I didn't read that right at all, but it doesn't matter.
O'Connell, Capulet, McKenzie. Yes, sir.
Let's record this bitch. Do the thing. There's the thing. See what's up.
Camo semicolon. Look at that thing hugging that. Right? Like, look at that ninja semicolon hugging that lowercase g. It's right. It's getting right up in it. It's like they're cuddling. That thing is spooning that letter G.
Lieutenant Benjamin and your platoon sergeant regaled me. God damn it, I have to fucking change pages. I have to fucking start this one over.
A con suggested. Dang, you can burp from just coffee? I never knew.
Santoreno gets up and shakes their hands.
All right. How about that? How about we turn the damn microphone on? How about that?
Yes, son. Yes, son. What?
Sorry, I get really motivated when I read about commanders being good commanders. It's just one of my favorite fantasies.
Chapter 28 with Lieutenant Colonel Santoreno. I'm coming home. Except I'm playing Capulet.
Gotta wait a little longer. If you're gonna fucking tailgate me into the bathroom, Jesus. I guess he would have locked it too soon. No, you can still piss. Don't mind me. I'm just here to watch. All right, moving on.
Chapter 28 continued. I missed a line.
Hey, you're pretty good.
It's the very last line. It's also the most important line. Nope.